Hello, welcome to Coding Jutsu channel. Today's video is going to be where I share some of my favorite Visual Studio Code shortcuts with you, so your work process will be much more efficient and faster. If you're brand new to VS Code, then go to code.visualstudio.com where you can download one for your specific operating system. I'll be using Mac. If you're using Windows and VS Code both coming from Microsoft, so they actually work pretty good. So you would have something like this, a code prompt that you can use in your Windows terminal. If you're using Mac, the code has to be installed in your path. So I'm going to show you how we can do this. I'm going to go to the specific folder that I have my files installed. So from here I can do code and space and then the path, which is the current folder, and it's going to open up my Visual Studio Code from there. Now this code prompt, I got it because in Visual Studio Code you can do Shift, Control, and P, and if you run shell, then the first one is that install code command in path. So you just click this and it will do this automatically for you. From next time when you launch Visual Studio, you will be able to do this from your terminal. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start it. This video will be in 3 sections. So we are going to talk about first the VS Code shortcuts, and then some debugging shortcuts, how I like to debug things if my projects are very large, and then at the end where you can find all of these shortcuts, and it lives in your Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to show you how you can also customize those key bindings as well. Now before I start, if this video helps you in any way, please like and share and subscribe. It gives me motivation. It helps the YouTube algorithm so I can make videos like this in the future. All right, so Visual Studio Code shortcuts. First few, you probably already know this, which is how you can copy, right? So if you're on Mac, it's going to be Command. If you're on Windows, it's going to be Control plus C. So you can see there, I can select this entire line, and if I press Command C, Control C on Windows, it is going to copy this in my clipboard, and then I can simply, put my cursor anywhere, and then if I do this again, Command and V this time, it's actually going to paste it. So Command C and then Command V to paste it, right? I also can do undo this if I don't want it. I can, again, Command or Control plus Z this time, which will undo this. Now, if I do Command Shift Z, that will redo this, right? So Command will be replaced by Control in Windows. So let me go ahead and get rid of this line. I don't need it. Let's check this off. We talked about copy, we talked about paste, we talked about undo and redo. All right, save. This is also, you might know, Command or Control in one Windows and plus S is going to save your file. So like this. Now this next one is very important, right? Save without formatting. So this is important, I say, because if you have some sort of prettier auto formatting your code installed on your Visual Studio Code, right? But if you are, let's say, cloning down a repo, a company repo or code base that you are going to make some changes, maybe you're going to make just one single line of change, but that format doesn't go with your prettier code formatting. If you do Command or Control S on that particular file, what it's going to do is Prettier is going to try to format in that entire file, right? And you don't want that. So in that case, save without formatting is the way to go. When you just want one line of change and you don't really want to format the entire file, you can do this by doing Command on Mac, Control on Windows plus K, and this has to be together, and then S, right? I will show you. Just keep focus on the here, right here. And we can do Control K. You see that it is actually waiting on the third, and then we can do S, which will save without formatting. All right, so this is handy. It saves my life a few times while I'm working. in my company. All right, another one is going to be moving your cursor. So you can move your cursor with your arrow keys, right? Now, this video's purpose, one of the purpose of this video is actually having your hands off the mouse. Two benefits for that. Well, of course, it's going to make you faster because you don't have to reach for the mouse, but it also is going to be ergonomics because most of the ergonomics injury actually coming from using our mouse. So if you're not using the mouse, if you're doing everything on the keyboard, it's better for you in both cases. So you can definitely move your cursor one at a time, one space at a time, go back left and right, go up or down. You can do that, but you can actually move by word. If you just click on Option on the Mac or Alt on the Windows, you can, and then move your cursor, you can actually move by words and not by just letter space like so. This is very handy if you want to do it super quickly, you want to move through some code, some line or some word, right? So let me go ahead and check this off. You also can do with, let's say you want to go to at the end of the line. You can do just Control or Command and then arrow key right. You can see that my cursor is at the end. I can also do the same thing by pressing Command or Control and then left arrow key. It will go straight to the start of the line. Super handy. All right, next one is going to be move your line or multi-line up and down. So this is very useful. To display this, let me create a folder here. So I'm going to do an index.js file here. I'm going to create const, let's say a brand name. Let's create a variable and let's do coding jutsu like that. Let's create a function right here and let's double click this to select this. If you double click, it's going to select the word and then Command C to copy this because we are going to use this. Let's create a greeting function that will take an input and here it's going to simply return and we're going to use template string here. Let's say hello and let's put that variable input like that. Spelling mistake. And now let's go ahead and open this, call this function and pass this variable. And I can easily do Command V to paste that variable name here. Okay, so that's your copy paste in action. Now this is move your line multi-line up and down. This is really useful because you can now, let's say you put your cursor on here, right, on anywhere. You don't really have to select or anything. If you put your cursor on the line, Visual Studio Code assumes that you mean that entire line. Here you can press Option on the Mac or Alt on the Windows and then up and down with your arrow key and you can just move this. So for an example, if I want to move this entire line, now this variable is a global variable. If I want to make it function scope, then I can just put this in here in the function. I can do that with simple with Option or Alt and up and arrow key. All right, so check this off. Here is, let's talk about selection, how we select. We select whenever we are working on CSS, where we are working on JavaScript or anywhere. Selecting is one of the crucial aspects of when we are writing our code. So you can obviously press on Shift, and Shift is available for both Windows and Mac, and then with your arrow keys, you can select. Now this is also going to select by one letter space, right? Each by one. Okay, that's Shift key, and then you just use your arrow keys to do one letter by letter, space by space. But you can also do it by words. Just like move cursor by word, which you will be using Option or Alt. Here, all you have to do is press Shift, then Option or Alt, and then just use your arrow key to select by word, like so. All right, so we can do that. And then obviously you can shift select the entire, like to the end of the cursor. You can just press shift and command or control, and then arrow key is going to go at the end. You can do to the left side as well. So you can do that as well. Just you can move your cursor like here, command control go at the end, at start of the line. Now, what if your cursor is in the middle of the line, but you want to select the whole line? You can obviously do something like this. You can press command and then left arrow key, go to the beginning of the sentence or line here, and then shift again, shift plus command or control, and then a right arrow key to select the entire line. You can do that and it will work, but there is actually a better way to do this. Is, let's say my cursor is in the middle of the line and all I have to do is command or control plus L, which will select the entire line and also gonna put my cursor on the new line, right, like so. This is very useful. Usually what I do is I use an extension to give me a snippet of React work. So this is usually what happens, is that it's going to import React from React. Now with the modern React 18, you don't really need this, but my boilerplate still creates this. So every time I end up deleting it. So you can delete this simply by Control L, selecting, and then backspace or delete. Okay, I'm gonna keep this because I want to introduce another cool trick to delete one line. Okay, so this is checked off. Select occurrences. Now this is super duper handy. Now here, as you can see, if I double click on this command thing, CMD thing, right, you can see there are many occurrences happening here, before this selection and after this selection. Now after this selection, if I do Control or Command D, it's actually going to select the next occurrence of the same word. If I keep pressing Command D, it's going to select the next one, and 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 then eventually it's actually going to go at the very beginning, and if you keep pressing this, it is going to select all of them. So if you want to select just one occurrence or multiple occurrence, you can do this with Command or Control D on Visual Studio Code. Now, what if you want to select the entire file, all the occurrences? You can do that too. All you have to do is pressing shift and then command or control and then L. You see that it is now selecting all the occurrences. This is super useful if you, let's say, create a lot of variable, but there is like a spelling mistake or something, or you want to just change the variable name. You can select all the occurrences in the entire file and then change this. Like if I want to make it like this, you see that right now it's changing everywhere, but I want to have this just like before, but it's super duper useful. Okay, let's save this. Next up is copy line or multi-line. So this one is super duper handy as well, is because you can copy. Like I can select this, right? I can do Control L and then Control C again, and then Control V or Command V to paste it, right? I can do that. Or I can just have my cursor anywhere in this line, and if I do Shift, Option or Alt, and then down key, it's actually going to copy the entire line and paste it down there. And then here I can change, let's say, person name, like here, like so, and then change this to maybe John Doe and save like this, right? So if I do Shift, Option or Alt, down or up, it's gonna copy and paste it for me. It is also going to work with multi-line, not only single line, so I can entirely just take this syntax of the function and then Shift, Option or Alt, down. It's going to create another. Maybe I'll just give it another func, and then just do the same thing. So I don't really have to write the function, another all this syntax one more time. I can just use this handy little shortcut. Super useful. I use that all the time. All right, this cut line command. So this is actually the same one. So if you have your cursor on that on any line, you don't really have to like select entire thing to copy it. If you just have your cursor anywhere, if you Control and C, which is copy, and then paste it, you will see that it's gonna paste the entire line for you. So you don't really have to select the entire line. But if you want to just select the variable name, then you can double click on there, or just a portion of the line, then you can select. But if you want to just copy the entire line, then you don't have to select at all. You can just press your shortcuts, key bindings, while your cursor is on the line. This works with your cut option too. So this one where I showed you that I don't really need this, I usually do Control L and then backspace. There's another way I can do this, is having the cursor over there, over on that line, and then just do Command or Control X, which is cut it. But it actually kind of like copy. It puts it in the clipboard, but it's cut it, and then I can recopy something if I want to, but that works pretty good as well. All right, so another one is that, as you can see here, this is the file explorer, right? This is the you can see you can move through your files and everything, but not always you need this open. So you can Command on Mac, Control on Window, and then if you press B, it's actually going to toggle this file explorer for you. Okay, so I can really work, I have more real estate to work on my code. Okay, so instead of clicking through, again, I have to reach for the mouse to click through any other file that I want to go. And oftentimes you will have to, you don't really work all of your code in one single file. You definitely navigate through different files in the same code base, right? So in that case, without opening the file explorer or touching the mouse, we can do that by simply doing Command on Mac or Control on Windows and do P. P is going to open this window, and here I can actually navigate through different files. It's actually going to give me all the files here where I can actually go. I can select the index and then enter is going to go to that file. Okay. I can do that same thing again. Control P and then go to the Visual Studio shortcut again. All right, so this is done. The next thing is I have two tabs open, and I can navigate through these tabs by just simply doing Option or Alt plus Command and Control, both pressed at the same time, and using the left and right arrow key like this. So pressing Command and Option plus the arrow key, left, right arrow key, or Control and Alt, left and arrow key on Windows. I can go ahead and close the tab as well. So let's go ahead, go to this index.js, and if I do Command or Control W, it's going to close this particular tab. All right, so the next one is cursor to the new line. So Command Control plus Enter. Now this particular one is especially useful when I am working on a CSS file. So let me go ahead and create a CSS file here. Styles.css. Here, let me go ahead and create a selector. So it's a body. I want to do like a margin. And I'm using the auto completion here, right? I'm gonna do margin 0. Okay, and right now you can see my cursor is at a point where if I now enter, it's gonna mess up my semicolon and it's gonna create an error, right? So I would have to move my error to the end, take my error, my cursor. So I have to move my cursor at the end and then enter, right? I can actually do this in one go. If I just do press Control or Command and then enter, on Windows, return on Mac. So command and return and control plus enter on Windows is going to put me on the new line. So if I again do this text decoration, and here I want to do like a line through, as you can see here, I'm actually not writing the whole thing. I'm using from the auto completion, and it is actually putting the cursor just before the semicolon. So I can just do command and return on my Mac. It's going to put the cursor in a new line. Okay, so that's is very useful in my CSS files. All right, so this has been the most useful shortcuts that I use, that it goes with the Visual Studio Code when I'm actually coding. This particular one is actually for debugging shortcuts. Now for this, I'm actually going to open up my terminal, and I'm actually going to go to my personal site here and going to show you how we can I can debug. So this is the reason I want to show you this, is because it is not like a super duper large file, but it has a little bit of folders, right? I have like, look at a lot of components here, each have folders, and there's like pages. So it's not like a super big project, but it's like a medium-sized project, you can say. So at this point, if I want to search something, if I want to like find a specific like a CSS, or I want to change like a color or something, how can I do that? So let me go ahead and go to my site, personal site here, and this is my personal site. If you go to guestbook, you can sign in and put the message there. So let me go ahead into this blog site, right? So if I click on here, understanding this in JavaScript, everything's good. Let me go ahead and change this. If I see like, you know what, this is not looking good, maybe I need to change the color. Instead of going to the code here and finding all this, like maybe where it is, probably I have to remember the file that I was actually working on. Instead of that, I can just clearly copy this, and I think this number right here it should be dynamic, right? This is, I actually know, because I cannot have this number as like a static, because each blog that I post has to have a different number. So this number is definitely dynamic. So I will definitely have this text, which is a static one, right? I can just copy this right here, go to my Visual Studio Code and use this search function. Instead of like me trying to find it, I can go here in the search function and then paste it here, and I can see that it is actually searching for me. And then if I click on here, it's going to directly select that, take me there, and from here I can change my style, I can check out the file, everything I can do. So it's very, very good, especially if you're working with a big project. You can find stuff real quickly from here. Okay. This one is another really cool feature of Visual Studio Code, which is go to the definition of a function. So let me go back to the index.js file one more time. So here you see that this particular function is called here. If you hover over it, it just tells you this is TypeScript stuff, like input is any type, don't worry about it. But if you press down your control or command on your keyboard and then hover over your function call, then you will see that on a little window, it actually gives you the definition. If you click on here, it actually takes your cursor to the function definition where you can actually see what's happening. This is again is really, really good feature where you are actually working on a big project. You are actually seeing in one file your function calls, and the definition of that function may be defined in some other file. You can just control and click, it is going to jump you to that function definition for you to research. So this is another cool feature from VS Code. The third one is going to be split view. Now split view is going to be command or control and then a backspace. If you do that, it's going to open up two pan, right? Let me go ahead and control B to shut down that file explorer. Here, let's say I want, it's going to open up with the current file you have, and then you can just take this as here. Let's say this is very useful if you're working with, let's say, HTML and CSS, and you can keep opening up new pan, and maybe you have on your left hand side HTML, CSS on your middle, and index.js file on your right hand side. You can do this not only the shortcuts control and backslash, but you can do this here as well. That will open up this split pan. You can also do it from the file explorer, right click, open to the site is actually going to open that particular file here as well. Okay. This is great. Next up is going to be Zen mode. Zen mode is like you're super focused. You don't want any type of distraction. There are lots of distractions happening on this window. You have this file explorer open, which I can close. There's like this mini map. There's so many things happening. There's this, you can have like notification coming in, lot of things, right? If you want just to focus on your code, you can do that by doing Command or Control, depending on your Mac or Windows, then K, again, this has to be together, and then Z next. So I'm going to do that. You see, waiting for this, and then if I press Z, it's going to go to the Zen mode, and I can just code away, no distraction at all. Now, in order for me to get out of the Zen mode, if I press escape, nothing happens. I have to press escape 2 times, then I can get out of the Zen mode. I don't really use Zen mode a lot, but I thought you might be, sometimes it might be handy. All right, open terminal. Obviously, I use external terminal for my work most of the time, but Visual Studio Code obviously have one integrated with it. And you can simply do, on Mac, there's a control button as well. So if you do control and backtick, it's going to open the integrated terminal for Visual Studio Code. So control plus backtick, also Windows, works the same way. All right, we are at the end of the video with all the shortcuts. So there are many shortcuts, right? And you also want to change some of the bindings to your choosing. You can do that by just pressing Command on Mac, Control on Windows, and then K and S all together. It's going to give you all the shortcuts there is in the Visual Studio Code. And you can also search it. Let's say redo. If I search, there's the redo function. If you want to change this, if you double click this, you'll be able to put your key bindings here and then change it. You can do all this. If you're just searching for something like selection to the next find, there are tons and tons shortcuts available in Visual Studio Code. This is one of the reasons I really love working in this VS Code editor. All right, guys, this has been a shortcut video for productivity in your coding journey. If you like this video, like, subscribe, you know the drill. But I will see you in the next one. We will talk about some other useful, important video for you. Peace.